Okay, Christina here to listen to some music, and today's music selection is Dante's Prayer by LOREENA MCKENNITT. So I have heard of LOREENA MCKENNITT before. I know one of her songs already. It was really popular in the late 90s, and actually I think it comes from the same album that this song comes from. I just never took the time to get to know any more of her music. And how I know the first song was called The Mummers Dance is because they used it in this really cool preview for the movie Ever After with Drew Barrymore. Highly recommend. This is going to be exciting because I finally get to hear more from her. And what else are we going to be doing today? I am a professional classically trained musician, instrumentalist, vocalist, composer, and professor. So I dive into all different aspects of the music, how it's composed, all the instruments that are used, and how we relate to it. How does it make us feel? Why do we like this music? Or maybe why not? So yeah, lots of beauty in the one song that I know already. So I'm hoping for some more. All right, so enough delay. Let's listen. Okay, here we go.
When the darkwood fell before me.
Okay. I almost didn't make it through that. It was overwhelmingly beautiful. It tugged on just about every heartstring that I have musically. Okay. The choir in the opening, full-on a cappella Russian traditional style. Some of my absolute favorite music is that style of music. I think one of my favorite pieces in that style is The All-Night Vigil by Rachmaninoff, particularly number 7. I think that one's my favorite. I've sung it many times. All right, and then the instruments came in, nice piano, lovely cello. The vibrato on it was very subdued. Sometimes I get a little picky with vibrato as a classically trained violinist. You don't want to have vibrato that's too fast or too slow. So that was a pretty slow vibrato, but it actually was more just like a waver every now and then. So I'm good with it. It was beautiful. Lovely tone. Okay, so obviously that intro got me. I was transported to where, I don't know, but I just was. So, all right, but then she started singing, and I do recognize that voice from the other song I know, The Mummers Dance. All right, so I'm going to back it up a little tiny bit and get back into this part so I can come back to earth to hear her sing. All right.
When the dark wood fell before me, and all the paths were overgrown, when the priests of pride say there is no other way, I tilled the sorrows of stone. I did not believe because I could not see, though you came to me in the night. When the dawn seemed forever lost, you showed me your love in the light of the stars. Cast your eyes on the ocean, cast your soul to the sea. When the dark night seems endless, please remember me. When the mountain rose before me by the deep well of desire, from the fountain of forgiveness, beyond the ice and the fire, cast your eyes on the ocean, cast your soul to the sea. When the dark night seems endless, please remember me.
Ooh, okay, got into a new section there. Well, that was just lovely. I loved how the voice came in, and then eventually the cello joined in. I wanted that cello to come back, and so then they were sort of dancing together. Her voice is lovely, and like I said, I do recognize it from the other song, but I've never heard it in any other context, so here we are. Lovely. I do remember from the other song also that with her voice, she has, well, gosh, I guess 3 or 4 sort of distinct styles that she can sing in, and I haven't heard all of them yet. What I heard here was a very innocent, youthful, sort of a cathedral tone. And then she can drop down to almost a whisper, but then she can also take it up to almost a chest voice sort of sound. But when she goes up into her head voice, which I think we just started to hear there, she can really soar. Just fill the room, fill the space with resonance from her voice. But then she has one more beyond that, which I know from the other song. Will it happen in this song? I don't know. This might not be the right sentiment for that to happen here, but it's very sort of swallowed and forward. It's like a really pushed head voice. And it's what she uses in the main chorus for the Mummers Dance. All right, but I was hearing some lovely higher notes in that beautiful head voice that she has. Let's back it up and hear what she's trying to do. Just still gorgeous so far.
Please remember me. We share this humble path alone. How fragile is the heart. Oh, give these clay feet wings to fly, to touch the face of the stars. Breathe life into this feeble heart. this mortal veil of fear. Take these crumbled hopes, etched with tears, will rise above these earthly cares. Cast your eyes on the ocean, cast your soul to the sea. When the dark night seems endless, please remember me. Please remember me. Please remember me. Please remember. Please remember. Please remember.
Okay. Wow. Obviously, that really touched me. Whew. And part of it is for my own personal reasons, because I have such fond memories of a lot of what is the backbone of this song. So not just the choir part there, which, by the way, it is so much like the Rachmaninoff. Was that sampled from it? I mean, it's almost identical. There are several movements in the all-night vigil, the Vespers, and I've sung them all, but there are like 3 or 4 that I've sung many times, and so it could have been in one of the others that I don't remember as well. Okay, I'll get to that in a moment. But then we didn't just have a cellist. We had a string quartet. And so that also brought back a lot of fond memories too, because that's sort of been one of the main things in my career is playing in string quartets. So I can hear exactly what they're doing. In fact, my quartet did stuff like this, where we actually recorded background strings for professional musicians, for artists that wanted beautiful strings in the background of their albums. So I was just vividly picturing what was going on with this song and the actual recording of it in my head, because I've been there. I've experienced that. And it is a lot of fun, especially when you end up with something as beautiful as this. This is really something. Okay, so let me go back to the choir part. I'm just going to look this up right now because I have to know right now, was that sampled from the Rachmaninoff? Okay, there isn't really anything on Wiki about it. There's just something about the St. Petersburg Chamber Choir. So I'm definitely on the right track, but I don't know if that was sampled from a Rachmaninoff piece or not. Sure does sound like it. Whew. Okay, but that type of singing is a specific style, as I stated. And today we sort of know a cappella singing. For instance, like Pitch Perfect or Glee. even pentatonics. But this style of a cappella singing is rooted in a little bit more tradition. It's a little bit older, so it takes a specific group of musicians to sing this way. A lot of the music is in different languages, and the singers are trained to have very specific mouth formations so that all of the vowels match, and the consonants too. They have to happen at the same time. So you basically turn a group of many singers, and it could be a smaller group or it could be a pretty large group. Like you could have 10 or 15 or you could have 100, but they all have to match perfectly. And then all of those voices become the same family of instruments. And we kind of already are. The human voice, we all have human voices, but they all sound so different. So with this type of singing, you train your voice. If you're a soprano, you sound like that soprano sound, alto, tenor, bass. And it becomes this sort of living, breathing musical instrument that can cover all of the ranges of the notes. It takes years to really learn how to do this. And it just happens to be what I've been trained in. So when I say I'm a vocalist, that's primarily what I've done for 30 years. And my life would not be the same without it. I dearly love that type of choral singing. I still do it today. So let's dive in and take a quick look. I know I've been talking a lot about the choir music, but let's just hear it again, if I can get through it. So do you hear that? That's a typical Rachmaninoff move right there, where it seems a little happier, a little lighter, but then it takes a little turn in the chord progression. It gets a little bit darker in more of a minor key. So as soon as I start hearing that singing, my eyebrows go up and my chin goes up a little bit, because that's the posture that we have to take to sing that way. Eyebrows up, nice and tall in the mouth formation. And what that does is it creates the space to make the resonance for the human voice to become that instrument that goes into this choir. And this particular choir also is carrying on in the Russian tradition. Do you hear those basses, those Russian basses? It is a thing. And it's beautiful. So they're also singing Alleluia. It's not just Alleluia, it's Alleluia. Sometimes it's Alleluia. And so if you're seeing how I'm sort of putting all of the sound of that forward, where the mouth shape kind of stays the same, but then the resonance comes from the back part of the mouth. So, Alleluia. Sounds pretty ridiculous when you're just speaking it. But when you sing it, it's gorgeous, especially when all those people are doing it together and then it's in like a cathedral setting. All right, this group knows what they're doing. St. Petersburg Chamber Choir. Okay, then we get to the other instruments, piano and cello. And they came in layered just perfectly, and they created this beautiful bedrock for her voice to come in. Let's hear that.
When the darkwood fell before me,
Oh, I love that hesitation there.
and all the paths were overgrown, when the priests of pride say there is no other way, I tilled the sorrows of stone. I did not believe because I could not see.
Okay, so I'm just remembering, I don't think I ever heard her go up into that loudest vocal technique that she uses that I heard in the other song, in Mummer's Dance. She kept it more subdued. I'm also hearing a lot of repetition. I always thought she was Celtic, like Irish, maybe, and I believe she's Canadian, but she's singing in the style of traditional music in that sense. And so it's going to have that repetition in the melody. Because at that point, it's more about the meaning of the song, which the words then will dictate literally. So I caught maybe half of the lyrics because I was so overwhelmed with the instrumental beauty. So let me look at those lyrics so I can fill in those blanks. And again, that's my brain that does that. So no offense to the lyrics. All right, I'm going to fill in these gaps. When the dark wood fell before me and all the paths were overgrown, I tilled the sorrows of stone. Cast your eyes on the ocean, cast your soul to the sea. When the dark night seems endless, please remember me. Ooh, this is a little more rough. Than the mountain rose before me by the deep well of desire, from the fountain of forgiveness beyond the ice and fire. Though we share this humble path alone, how fragile is the heart. Okay, so I don't know if this is a farewell or if this is just a reflection of someone's life or if it's overcoming tough times. But it just seems like someone is longing, like someone feels lost. Yeah. Cast your eyes on the ocean and please remember me. That's beautiful. Whew. Okay. And so how do you create music that can adequately support those words? Well, Russian choir, string quartet, angelic soloist. Yeah, I think you can make that happen. So that is what we have here. All right. So we have to talk about the string quartet. It was already meaningful enough to me when just the cellist came in, and I loved how the choir was singing and then the cello came in over the top and they were completely intertwining. I love that effect. I've used that a lot actually in my own composition works. And little did I know that later on there was going to be a whole string quartet. And when it came in, it just swelled up. It was really thick and rich and sort of like the choir where it was lower in scale degrees, in octaves. We didn't hear a lot of super high notes. There was one section where we ascended up, and I'll get to that in a second. But for the most part, it was just filling this space here instead of all the way up here because they were reserving that space for her to be up there. And also the sound of the piano to come out. All right, let's go forward to the string quartet spot.
Please remember me.
The cello is still kind of the soloist though. And the violins and viola are sort of supporting. There, you hear the violin up at the top there finally.
We share this humble path alone. How fragile is the heart.
Yeah, so we hear the violin on top.
I'll give these
Here,
clay feet
but
wings to fly, to touch the face of the stars. Breathe life into this feeble heart. Lift this mortal veil of fear.
they change things up here. Just a second.
Take these crumbled hopes, hatch with tears. We'll rise above these earthly cares.
Yeah, those string lines are just like this, just
Cast
swimming.
your eyes on the ocean. Cast your soul to the sea.
Okay, this is where it happens. The cello comes out again.
Please remember me. Please remember me.
There we go. This is where it happens. That's the cello playing that high.
Please remember. Please remember.
Love this ascension. That's pretty high for a cello. And there's a harmonic up there. The cello can't go much beyond that, so now the violins are coming in. Okay, now the violin has gone higher than what the cello could do, and it keeps going just another note or so. There. We arrived up there. Beautiful. Beautiful. And of course, then we get back into the choir part. I don't know if I can take hearing it again. It's so beautiful, though. Okay. So that was kind of a fun little game between the cello and the violin. I really love how her voice is obviously the star of the show here, but there's so much beauty in the other aspects of the song that she just hands it over when she needs to. She gave the entire intro to the choir and the cellist, and then she sort of just goes into repeat mode at the end and hands it back over. So I see that I think the album is called The Book of Secrets, and so this is like the front binding and the back binding. A perfect book with the choir, and then she fills the pages. Gorgeous. All right, you know I have to play along, right? The string parts are not that complicated. It's more like studio playing, which is, like I said, the kind that I've done before, where it's really elongated lyrical lines that are there to support the soloist. It's pretty easy to pick up on. In fact, that's what you kind of have to do. Often you go into a recording like this and they might not have music written out. And so you have to sort of figure out those lines on your own. And that's a whole fun adventure all in itself. Okay, let's find a good spot. And if I remember correctly, it just goes up 3 notes and then down 3 notes. And the violin kind of did that over and over again. Let's see if we can find that place.
We share this humble path. How fragile is the heart? I'll give these clay feet wings to fly, to touch the face of the star. Breathe life into this feeble heart. Lift this marvel of fear. Take these crumbled hopes, latch with tears, will rise above these earthly peaks. Cast your eyes on the ocean, cast your soul in the sea, where my dark nights and sunrise, please remember me, please remember me, please remember.
Okay, and so now I want to go and see where the violin takes over from the cello for that ascension up. Let's see where that happens.
Remember me. Please
Here's the
remember.
cello.
Please remember.
There's more vibrato there now.
Please remember. Please remember. Please remember. Please
And a harmonic E at the end. And then it fades into the choir. Okay. There we have the sopranos. Yeah, so the sopranos just come in at the very, very end. But up to that point, it might have just been men, possibly with some altos. But first, do you hear how it's in a major key? And then they do that little turn, and then it sinks down into the minor key. That right there is a fingerprint of Russian choral tradition. All right. And so you also notice how deep the lower voices are in this style, but then when the women, the sopranos, come in, it's so light. It's very angelic, which I can see why they save it for the end here, because you don't want to take away from her angelicness, you know. All right, let's hear this again. And they're just saying, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. The blend. So good. All right. That was wonderful. Okay. So that was Dante's Prayer by LOREENA MCKENNITT. So I don't mean to take away from LOREENA MCKENNITT at all by focusing on the choir and the string quartet so much. It just happens to be my area of expertise. And it also happens to be some of my favorite styles of music, so I just can't help it. It's so beautiful, and I just wish I could share it with everybody. But her message and her artistry is not lost on me. I really love her voice. And it's been a voice that's been with me for decades because I know her from that other song all those years ago. And I loved her voice then, and I love her voice now. And honestly, it makes me love it even more because it was paired with these other things that I happen to love. So love all around, everybody, for this one. It's a really meaningful piece of music on every level. So is it going on my playlist? Yes, absolutely. I will listen to it a lot, not just for the musical aspect of it, but for the meaning of it. It's beautiful on so many levels. So there will be times that I listen to this and I only focus on her voice and the words she's singing. And then there'll be other times when I want to listen to it just for the background stuff, the choir and the strings. A little something there for me, for whatever I feel like. I just really would love to see this performed, like, not just on a stage, like at a concert, but like in a cathedral, a giant ancient cathedral. So thank you for coming along with me on this little musical adventure. And I do hope to hear more from LOREENA in the future. But for now, just remember that you don't have to be perfect. Just be okay. And keep listening.